Welcome back to Sims 4. This is brought to you by Chronicles of Earth 9 on Agamemnon Games on YouTube. I'm Agamemnon. This is going to be part 4 of episode 1. Remember to hit the like, comment, or subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We were talking about Alan Scott in the last one, and our LGBT character. I think they added a Q to the thing, and as a writer, I always try to write from a neutral place, as we're the creator of the world and universe. I always try to write from a... like she's angry. I know that feeling. But I always try to write from a neutral place, but I believe as a writer that you should write about things that you have real experience from, but at the same time writing is about exploring things and ideas, and hopefully by writing you become a better person just by using imagination and supposing. That's really what fictional writing is about, writing scenarios out with things that you're not familiar with, and then you grow as a person. So I felt that Alan Scott's character was kind of challenging, because it was a character I really didn't know any. I know about Alan Scott, the character, but as far as like an LGBT type of character, I wasn't really sure how to do that. The only way I could figure out how to do is just to model it after people I've met over the last 30 years or so of traveling the world. And so I modeled Alan Scott after a couple of people I've met along the way. And I thought it would be cool. But with that character, I had to create, when you create a character or a main character, a principal character in a story, you have to develop supporting characters around them. And you have to develop an infrastructure around that character. And for every principal character that you keep adding to a serial, that adds more layers. And so with Sims 4, I put Alan Scott in his own area so that we could develop that, and then through that, as we're developing his character in the fan fiction, that allows us to explore different things. And the purpose really of the game is to develop skills. And in this game you have charisma skills, logical skills, you acquire skills, communicating, growing things, cooking. There's all different ways that you can acquire a skill. And relating it to Alan Scott in his infrastructure, I'm really interested in that character, in that aspect, that it gives you a chance to write a character that you don't really know much about that sort of experiences, real world experience, other than you model it after real world people that you actually know. Athenata is based on people I've known. She's sort of a hodgepodge of people.
Loof, Emka, you threw your vobay.
Hey, Finn.
Sippin' Polifa?
Dibblewis Varsha.
Shersha.
Now, as the feature went on here, recording went on, I started paying more attention to these little icons where they're getting angry and the information that they're telling you, and I've been trying to adjust what I do with them, because I'm kind of torn between how much to interfere in the character versus kind of let them free roam. But what seems to happen when you free roam is everything seems to start breaking down And then they start getting bogged down, and then so I've been trying to, while uh, developing the environment, taking care of the equipment, the workflow in the house during the day and when they go off to work and so forth, between the 4 adults and the 2 cats, I've been trying to find balance. At the same time, I was figuring out laundry and then the kitchen appliances, how to make their life more enjoyable. And one of the reasons I hadn't put a lot of windows in the place is because I couldn't figure out how to delete the doors at this point. And so I didn't want to modify the walls yet. And plus we didn't have a lot of money. With the 4 people, you needed to keep around $2,000 a month for the bills. And that kind of limited. I was noticing here that they were putting the stuff on the floor. And when you picked it up, they didn't take it to the dryer. They would take it to the hamper, which that kind of defeats washing it, right? But I kind of figured out that you had to take it to the clothesline and let it naturally dry. See, she puts the clothes into the hamper, which is where the dirty clothes is, and that didn't make any sense to me. Looking for a better clothesline. I'm actually looking for the clothesline. One thing too, I noticed on some of these there's like the information for data, and now that when I'm buying things, I'm kind of paying more attention to see if there's data, that information on data for each product. But I'm putting out 4 baskets because you have 4 adults, and I'm thinking that will cut down on build up a little. But I want to have it the same type of basket. And I'm hoping that improves their quality of life. And what I was trying to do here is have it so that between their work schedules, I would have the most convenient character grab one thing of laundry, either put it in the washer or move it from the washer to the dryer and so forth. So you have different people, if they were nearby, grab the laundry. And laundry is important. If you ever lived on your own, laundry is a hassle. And you have to really schedule your day, especially when you're living with other people. You have to do your normals, your permanent press, stuff that has to be on a hand cycle, delicates. What tends to work when you live with other people, especially if you're a bachelor, if you're great at doing laundry, people try to get you to do their laundry. Like that can be kind of a good deal or outright disgusting. But laundry is so important. Someone was saying you had to put the dryer, you had to put the heat thing through the wall, but I couldn't find where that is. Look at that cat. It's really wants some attention there, huh? Early on, I didn't know that you had to train the cat. Give him a lecture on not getting on the thing. My cat, my real cat, I didn't ever lecture the cat. Just kind of let him do his own thing. He would walk on the counters, but he didn't like destroy stuff on the counter. See, everything keeps breaking down, and I'm wondering why. Everything's in real life, stuff doesn't break down that frequently, right? And I'm wondering maybe it's the use, right? But I see that you can upgrade the appliances and fixtures, but that too costs money. Paula's over there playing on the computer, all flirty.
Yumbala, Vobi Roshba.
Some point I'm gonna make a proper bedroom for Steve, but I wanna make a walkway that goes out and actually build him a bedroom, and then sort of span out from a center area, like a modular area, and then his room would be by itself, and then slowly I'm gonna migrate everybody into their own little areas, and then the common areas, with like the kitchen and bathroom, they would be common to the house. But I'm trying to do it in a way that they don't have to go too far to the bathroom, and it's sort of on their way to the kitchen. And the kitchen, trying to make it so that the kitchen and dining are the central areas of the house. And the living room and dining room are sort of together. In most residential homes, the kitchen, dining, and living room are somewhat connected, usually. And then some homes nowadays all have entertainment areas. And then a lot of houses now have a man cave or a computer cave. So it's a lot of stuff to do. Now in this part, I kind of want to get more into what they're actually doing on screen, and where necessary we'll fill in the Chronicles of Earth 9. But I think I've covered enough backstory of the characters, or why they're here and why we're using them, and then until we get to Donna Troy and Alan Scott. John Jones. We haven't added John Jones or Jay Garrick yet, but I'm going to, once we develop we're gonna develop Donna Troy, and then the other sister, Drusilla, and then but we want them to be in their own place. And then I'm gonna build a separate place for Etta, because really she lives in a dorm, and she kind of comes over to the house, but the house really belongs to Athenata and Steve. But it's a place they can hang out together. It's the sort of their mixed household. But in the serial, Athenata keeps her apartment in DC, and she uses the home as sort of the hub that everybody kind of gets away from things on the weekend type of home. At this point in the game, I think I was getting a handle on the workflow in the house. Now eventually that kitchen wall, I made a half wall, but you couldn't put a door on a half wall, and that was kind of upsetting. So I had to move the door, and it was, at that point it made it kind of inconvenient to go to the pool. So trying to figure out a way to do the kitchen in the wall, so you sort of had a half wall, but you could put a door over there, and they could just walk out to the pool, because I kind of want to keep the pool as a courtyard area, and then the house will sort of be built around that courtyard area. Now, one of the cats ended up getting injured or sick, so I took it to a vet. And then I started wondering, do we need 2 different feeders for the cats? So I bought another feeder eventually for the other cat, but they both only used the 1 feeder, so. But here I'm playing around with the washer and dryer. I separate them out so that you didn't mix them up, basically. Because as I was working with them, I was getting confused at what was the washer, what was the dryer. So I separated them. And then I got a hemp little basket there, but it doesn't do anything. It's just for show. So I might put a hamper next to the dryer at some point, so if they need dry stuff, they can take it out, put it in that hamper while it's waiting on the clothesline, and then you can still dry clothes. I've noticed when you're socializing in this game, like someone, like if you have a guy and girl, and they start talking, someone rings on the phone. Can I come over? I noticed it does that whenever you do it. So in the future, I'm gonna like not answer the phone. I've been looking for the Hoe It Up mod, but because in the story in the 1950s, after Athenada's relationship with Steve Trevor falls apart, she goes back and starts working as a prostitute again, basically a call girl. And she works, Dottie's aunt, Evelyn, their family and her mother's family, their family business was they run a brothel in Athens, Georgia, near the college, because it's a college town and it's a football town. So at this point in the 50s, their business is near the college, and they have a couple of satellite locations. And then what happens in the story, after Athenada has her baby, and she's sitting out by pool, but their head, their best gal, the one with the star power, she decides to retire to have children. And so Evelyn needs to find another star. And she knows that Athenada is a prostitute in the story. And one of the running gags in the serial is that all the prostitutes one of their skills is, or abilities, is they can spot out other prostitutes, even if they're like a secret society, but they know who other prostitutes are. And Evelyn knows that her and Paula were prostitutes. And so she tries to recruit her, and then as Evelyn sort of finds out about Athenada's situation, she recruits her in, and with her superpower abilities, working as a prostitute in the story, she uses her powers because through her telepathy and her empathy, she can create illusions and fantasies, sort of like, we watched the show Fantasy Island, Mr. Rourke. He could create different fantasies through his mind, and he had powers, right? And so in 1950, that's sort of what Athenada does in this club. She creates these fantasies. So when guys or women or whoever rents her out for the night, she creates these fantasies, and what's cool with it is she can control the time. So in the fantasy, it could be like a 3-4 day adventure, but it's only like 1 hour in time in reality. And so Evelyn and her husband take advantage of that. And their place becomes like really popular in town, and Athenada is the reason for that. It's kind of a fun way to have with the character, her superpowers. So she's technically still a secret agent, but it's a different kind of secret agent. I wrote a James Bond story in Chronicles of Earth 9. I haven't released it yet, but I'm still figuring out the logistics, but it's with Sean Connery, James Bond, in the 1950s, and he's coming through Athens, Georgia, and he's like running away. He's trying to hide, and he runs into Athenada in the story. And she turns out, because in the story, she's still because she's an American citizen, and she was around when the country was founded. That's how her and Apollo are American citizens in the story, is they were here when the Constitution was ratified. And so because of that, if you were in the country at the time when the Constitution was ratified, you're an American citizen, right? Natural citizen. And so And her and Apolloda were U.S. or are U.S. Marshals in the story. And once you're a U.S. Marshal, you're always a U.S. Marshal. And in one of the stories, a U.S. Marshal comes and he's having to investigate, but he doesn't trust anybody in the town, and he finds out that she's a U.S. Marshal, and she's trying to not get into doing like superhero stuff anymore because she's raising her daughter, and but he recruits her with the help out your fellow um, help out your fellow um, Marshall. So she does. She helps him out. But that got me into thinking you should write, like, because I always wanted to write a James Bond story. And that was my way to do it. A Chronicle Earth 9 version of James Bond. And then he just shows up. Because one of the cool things about James Bond that I always like is like he would be in like trouble and he would be running away, and he would like run somewhere and there'd be some like hot woman, hot gal run into, and he would like make out with her, and she'd help him out, and they kind of go their separate ways for like that short moment. That's what I always liked about James Bond. Kind of a guy, and it'd be kind of cool to have that kind of story with the Chronicles of Earth 9. Well, technically she's a secret agent, right? But I gonna at some point change Athenata so she becomes like a doctor or something, but I don't know how to do that in the story. Because in reality, she's a healer in the story, and then all the other stuff are her like side jobs. There's no Angelico mod that I found. There's a Immortal mod, but as I was saying with the brothel mod, I kind of got sidetracked. Was I located them, but I don't trust, like, when you go to the sites to get the downloads, I don't really trust those sites. You know? So, um, I'll have to figure out a way to do that without getting ripped off. That little green arrow is important. The facing of the bucket. At first I didn't think it was, but the more I've been building stuff, I find it's important. Now, with the immortal stuff in the game, I'm kind of leaning to just not aging the characters, because then you can just keep on going with the serial. And then as you tie it with the Chronicles of Earth 9 stuff, then you can just sort of put a link to where it sort of corresponds with the books. How I kind of want to use Sims 4 is to promote the fan fiction a little more, but when we go on Patreon, because we usually release our videos to Patreon, I want to use it as a way to update our Patreon people, give a weekly update, but then you have a new video and then you talk a lot about what's going on with the novels, so as you're releasing new writing material, it's an update on it. It's sort of a win-win situation. Noticing as I'm putting these cabinets in, the doors show up again. And at this point I still don't know how to erase the doors, how to delete them or sell them. And Now, at this point in Sims 4, in the video here, it's like the second day that I've had the game. I'm really getting into it, and you can tell because it was a 6-hour shoot. But as I get into the Donna Troy stuff, I really start to get a handle on the appliances and how to build the homes and stuff. Now, I don't know if there are clocks in the game. One thing you have in a house usually somewhere is... Our house, we had a grandfather clock, which was cool because it was analog, didn't require power. And usually have a clock, battery power clock somewhere, and then all the appliances have clocks. And computers have clocks now, but... see, now I'm reading... He's upset that the cat scratched. Now, one thing I don't know is if where it shows up like the color, if you click on that, will that improve his anger or reduce it? Will that cause him to be... I don't want him to yell at the cat because that's kind of mean. I had him tell the cat, "You're awesome." I don't really see what the point of the counters are. Yeah, I put them there just to see if you can put them there, but I still don't see what they do in the game. The wardrobe there, that's so they can change your... makes it convenient so they can change your clothes. So, imagine it adds to the environmental condition. In psychology, they call it environmental conditioning. So, your body adapts to your environment. And so if you have a pleasant... That's kind of why I went to gold paint was... Edda, she likes vibrant things, so when I sat down to do the coloring for the house, I went with that gold, lively, energetic. It has a warm feel to it, but I went with the lively, like sunshine. And then I switched to a green carpet for the ground. I eventually... carpet, other than the bathroom and kitchen, I carpet the whole house, but I did it with a green, so it's like grass. I went with a plush, comfortable carpet, so it would improve the comfort of the homes. And then I started putting windows in, but that proved to be expensive. Putting windows in.
Una narka naps. Gishal. Tribnafenev. Yatufenev Karangi. Yathruya. Bro hooray azig.
I eventually put a couch in the kitchen. Tried out. Bought the most comfortable couch you could get, and I put it in the kitchen. Everybody was eventually sitting in the kitchen. Oscar, he really likes to chat. Walter. I've been trying to play around. You see the action queue there. I don't know if like you can multitask, like when you put things in the queue. It looks like with the chat it does. It sort of works it in there and sort of multitask, so you have the main task and you have a couple side. I guess if it's just communicating or playing on a computer, you could kind of do multiple things at the same time. At some point here, I move all the women. See, I got rid of the one bathroom, see, so there's only one, but it was kind of far from where the women were. But what I eventually do is I move Hippolyta in there where the other women are, so all the women are together. And then I turn that other bedroom that's way in the back into a bathroom. And I eventually figured out how to do the doors. And then I moved the door so that you go to the kitchen and you get to the bathroom from there. And then I got rid of the door from the women's bedroom that goes to the kitchen. So all the rooms flow to the living room or the kitchen, and then from the kitchen you can get to the utility stuff, which includes the kitchen and the bathrooms. It's still kind of a far walk for people to go to the bathroom, but it eases the congestion. When we go to the modular type of house, the way I want to design it is that you have a central hub, and then the bedrooms are sort of on their outer hub, the outer orbs, and then between the bedroom and the central hub will be the bathrooms. Right? So you can access the bathrooms from the outside of the house and inside of the house, but you don't have any time you don't have to go far to the bathrooms. Now eventually I have to design a basement so that when you because I want it to eventually look like the brownstone estate, right? The way it looks in the photo. And then I have to design it's like a basement, a first, second, and a third story, because it was built out of a mansion. So I have to go look up a blueprint for a 19th century mansion, and then upscale it to to the 1950s, and then expand it to what it looks like in the 2020, and then build this secret Argus part of it, and the offices, and then the living areas to the building. Because when we get into the Teen Titan type of era in the 2020, the Brownstone Estate, the Justice Society of America is more like a school, kind of like the X-Men, where you have the X-Men school, and it's the school for that the mutants go to. But in our fan fiction, the Marvel and DC stuff coexist. So I was kind of torn because I was originally going to have it where the DC stuff was the real world stuff, and the Marvel was like, it was like the comic book they were reading in the series. Right? But I decided to combine them, and so that they're just different organizations. So you have like Argus, but there's a part of that which is the science part of the government, which that's where the SHIELD and stuff are part of. But they are part of Argus. Argus is mainly the people who deal with metahumans, or superheroes for that matter. But in a legal way, in our game or our fiction, there's a governmental mechanism and laws that they have to follow. I try to, like, with the superheroes, the law enforcement part of it, they work with law enforcement and they're deputized. A lot of them are private investigators. Because one thing that I don't like with a lot of modern day writers for superhero stories, they sort of skip, like, if you want to go out there and investigate crime, you can. In the United States, you can. You have to get a private investigator license. And before a public police force, that's how law was enforced in the United States. With private citizens. The oldest law enforcement detective agency in the United States is the Pinkerton Agency. And they were around long before, because in the U.S., in the 19th century, the crime organized first. And that's when you, like the Battle of the OK Corral, that's what that was about. The Cowboys were the first organized crime organization in the United States. And then Wyatt Earp, they were the U.S. Marshal. And they had to, because in the U.S., only the U.S. Marshal has jurisdiction, federal jurisdiction, to investigate crime, enforce laws anywhere in any state, any territory in the U.S. And at that time, in the Arizona territory, it wasn't a state yet, so it made for a lot of lawless environment. And the cowboys were an organized crime organization. And then when you get into the late 19th century and early 20th century, that's how you get the what they call the Bureau of Investigation, BOI, and that eventually leads to the formation of the FBI in the 1930s. Someone's crying. Oh, the cat ran away and everyone's sad. That's what's going on. Oh, her laundry's all wet. That's what it is. And this is where I started really researching clotheslines and stuff. Started figuring out the drying thing. At first I set out a clothesline and it was kind of working, but I still didn't thoroughly understand that you needed to take the clothes from the dryer to the clothesline. Right, so that it dries, and that didn't really dawn on me until the second time I set up, because I set up the clothesline, no one was really using it, and so I got rid of it. And then when I redid the kitchen and had to reset the door, I went and put a new clothesline out there, and that seems to be working in the game. When I was in the Navy, I had to use the washboard. We had to wash our stuff by hand. I was in boot camp. Because our barracks didn't have a washer or dryer. We were in one of the class one day, because I went to Orlando in the 80s. And back then, Orlando was the only place the females were at. So when you went to the class, one half of the class were all women, the other half were men. And the women, because our shirts weren't ironed, one girl made a comment, "Why don't you guys ever iron your shirts?" We were like, "We don't have an iron." To begin with. You know, if I had an iron, I would use an iron. And at the same time, they said, "Well, why don't..." Okay, then we don't have washer and dryers in our barracks. We have to do it by hand. And they were like, how? And we were like, well, it's nice that they gave you a washer, dryer, and iron. Ironing board and an iron. We didn't have any of that. I bought that laundry maid thing, but it didn't do anything, so I thought it was just for show. I'm eventually gonna have it where everyone sort of has their own room, own computer, but I'm waiting for them to make more money. Trying to figure out where the clothesline is located. There it is, Model T clothesline. But I had to learn how to wash clothes by hand. I'm glad I learned that. It's actually a very useful skill. I've actually improved my manual washing techniques using a bucket. The only thing is actually you gotta wring out the clothes. Gotta like swirl them up, but you gotta do it in a way that doesn't stretch the material. Then when you take it to the clothesline, it doesn't have to completely dry. Then it takes forever. But in Florida, you could clotheslines are really good until you get in the summer and it starts raining every day. Then you gotta like go. You gotta do your laundry first thing in the morning, and get ready in case it rains. You gotta run out there and grab all your clothes before it gets wet again. Like, see, I don't see why she walked all the way over there. She has to use the bathroom. But I started realizing that there's a lot of people in the bathroom. That's what's going on. See, there's someone in a tub, and Edda's standing there, and so she can't go to the bathroom. She's uncomfortable. So that's when I started. We need to toilets. We need. For adults, you need 2 bathrooms. Was debating on putting 4 toilets in there, but if someone's on a toilet, they're not gonna go, right? So I have to figure out a way to make a stall. I'm thinking of making a small little room, and that's where the toilet closet. And then so even if someone's showering, the person can walk in and use the toilet shower. Toilet closet. I didn't even know who this woman was. She just came over and started talking to Edda. But I did figure out as the game went on that put everybody in a group, and then you can do more stuff with them, and it's still more convenient. And then, especially if they're eating. I'm kind of happy because we're coming up to the last couple parts of the first episode, and when we get into the later episodes, we'll catch up on our schedule. And I finished all the Farm Sim stuff yesterday, and I got partway through the Sims 4, and then I got really tired, and I slept a long time. Then when I came back, I couldn't remember what I was doing last in the game, so I had to go back and watch episode 2 again, so I could do episode 3 and 4. And then I'm trying to get this done tonight so that we can do the World of Warcraft stuff, and then all we have are the DC Universe and Star Trek Online stuff, and then come Thursday night when we get back into, because we stream from Friday to Tuesday, and so Thursday night starts to cycle again, and I record the games from 6 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock at night, so you have that 3-hour window, and then I save the 9 to 10:30 as my office hours. So I reserve that time for writing and socializing, hanging out on Twitch, watching other streamers. And then we're right into the stream. Well, I do all my stream prep because the pre-show starts at 11, and then we stream from midnight to 9 a.m. And then And from 9 a.m. to 11, I'm winding down, usually off stream with farm sims. But I use that time to record farm sims, which gives us about 5 hours of recording time. And I'm really kind of happy that we're moving in a good schedule right now. Now, some of you that might be following along Sims 4 or might be thinking of making your own little series, as a creative writer, I find it doing these videos like this, where it connects with Chronicles of Earth 9 in an extemporaneous type of speaking, to be very useful because it gets a lot of things off my mind, and I get a lot of stuff out of my head. And then I find that it really, when you sit down to write things, and it just having to speak all the time, it really allows me to kind of organize my thoughts a little bit better and work on things and kind of review things, stories. And then when I sit back and listen to the videos again, it's a very useful tool. Sims 4 to me is like Farm Simulator 19, where it's not really about winning or losing. It's an activity, and it's really enjoyable because you're building things and you're organizing things. And it has a good economic system, logistics system in the game. I love that kind of stuff. Once I figured out that you could travel in the game, that really, I don't want to say opened the door, be kind of like a pun. That sort of, I realized you could do a lot of things to improve the quality of life of your characters, not having to do everything at the house. The problem is they go through energy so fast. Like when they come home from work, they don't have a lot of energy. So even if you got them to go out and come back, if you have them sleep for 8 hours, I like getting my people up 2 hours before they have to go to work. So that gives them time to do stuff and energize, shower, change, eat, and then kick back for a little and then go to work. So that when they go to work, the character's in a good situation. But then they come back, they're tired. It's really hard to go out. Yeah, I don't know where Athenonaut is going to. See, I put that laundry stuff up there, but I didn't really see what it did in the game other than it organizes that spot. But I ultimately thought it was just a waste. Wasted space. I'm kind of a minimalist. I didn't start out as a minimalist, but over the years I've kind of become a minimalist kind of person. See, this is where I started getting the idea just to let the sim just kind of go do their thing and just really focus more on the building of the place and building the habitats. I discovered along the way that you can tell people to go home. That turned out to be useful, because if you're trying to get to bed by 10 and the neighbors over there talking, you want to be rude, but if there's a setting where you can just go home and then it doesn't count against you. They say, oh, I should be going. That's been useful. But in some of the newer episodes, now that I figure you can go places, I'm I'm gonna incorporate that more into the episodes so they can kind of save a little bit of money. Be cool if they had hotels in the game. Well, it's like if you're out partying but you don't want to go all the way back to your place, you just go to a hotel for the night. When I was in the Navy, I used to go to hotels all the time because I lived on a ship, and then on a ship you don't have beds or furniture. And I used to just like to go rent the hotel for the weekend so that you could at least sleep in a bed or sit on a sofa. Then when I got out of the Navy, I worked as a contractor, and then I had to travel all over the place, so then I was like always in a hotel. Traveling and always in a hotel, and that's kind of a hassle. That's not fun, living out of a hotel, because you have to rent one with the kitchen area, and then you got to go get all the food, and if the hotel doesn't provide like pots and pans, you're kind of screwed, because you got to now bring all your pots and pans. When we traveled overseas, a lot of places that we stayed furnished the pots and pans for you, but you still had to go get like if you wanted an omelet pan or a grill pan, a specialized pan for stuff, you had to go and do that. But when I went to Saudi Arabia, that was kind of cool because we went to a Safeway in Saudi Arabia, and it was the first time going to some other country where I found a supermarket. When I went to Europe in the early 90s, one of the things I found there, couldn't find supermarkets and stuff for like convenient. Well, they had convenience stores, but they were more like ma and pa type of stores. But no real supermarkets. But when we went to Saudi Arabia, they had them all over the place, and they were convenient. Because now, if you're staying in a place, you can just go to the supermarket and buy all your stuff, and then you get like a month's supply, and then you don't spend a lot of money. But if you're living on the road at a hotel, especially even if you make a lot of money, you tend to spend a lot of money because you have to buy your food every day at the hotel, and then you have to clean your clothes, wash laundry. And then you have the car, you have to rent it. Then you got to get it serviced. That can be a hassle. Especially as a contractor, because you're taking your tools with you. And you're like in an airport every couple days. That's a hassle. Because the airport's like at that time, it was like an all-day event. You weren't getting anything done on your travel days. And then especially if you carry tools, you had to go through inspections and stuff, and people are like, "What's this for?" And that's a big of a hassle. Kind of why I don't do that anymore. I kind of get to a point where I hate traveling, hate driving. I don't like driving anymore. It's annoying. I do it because I have to, but I hate driving. But once I figured out you had a travel mode in here, I was wondering, do people in the game have cars? Yeah. I was looking for plants here because in the real world, plants tend to brighten up the area room, and they also filter out odors and clean the air, like especially in a building. Um, At this point, I'm trying out different ideas with the tool, just seeing what things are, where they're at, and hopefully not expensive. Because remember, the bills are like $2,000 a month, so that limits a lot of things. I was kind of buying stuff so if the bills got tight, you could just sell a bunch of stuff, and then at least you try it out, sell it off, pay your bills off, try more stuff off, sell it off, pay your bills off. The pawn shop in this town gets a lot of work when you sell all your stuff back. We had a barbecue grill, but it basically burned up. Ceased to exist. See, I bought that couch there. I bought a comfortable couch. Now everybody's sleeping on it. Coming up on the end here.
And Bobby Narble, Franj. Wixana Zarspa, Usinet Pandole.
I was thinking of making this like a 1950s environment where you didn't have like computers. You just had a television, a radio, simple things around the house. So I don't really know how to simulate a time period, but I think if you just got the basic appliances, you could simulate the 1940s and 50s in that way. Because there weren't really phones. Well, you had a telephone in the house. Usually one phone. There weren't microwaves or coffee makers. Usually people made their coffee on the stove. Had a little kettle, a little high pressure water, and then you boil it, and then the coffee would be on the top part. And then I'm glad I grew up in the 70s. You can see all that technology that eventually came along. Remember when computers came around in the late 70s, early 80s? That was kind of cool. And Betamax, the VCRs, that was always kind of awesome. I think I'm going to do that in the next couple of... I'm going to redo the house so that it's more like a 1950s house would be. Alright, here we go. Thanks to our Patreon supporters who donate their real money. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in part 5. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.